Hello and welcome back to the channel and a new video. At the end of our last vlog style video, we mentioned that we were waiting for somebody to come and deliver some fish, and the plans were that I was going to photograph that, or video that should I say. So the plans were that I was going to video that and sort of do the unboxing and show you what I got. That sort of didn't happen, pretty much because Ian, my friend, we had a coffee and a natter, and I dripped them in, and by the time it was ready, they were in the tank. Now, I'll mention, because I like to show the good and the bad, that I had a cycle crash in that tank. So still got ammonia, but because the pH is so low, that ammonia becomes ammonium, and haven't lost the fish in there. Now, I've been dosing with prime and stability, and the cycle still hasn't happened. So what I've ended up doing is doing a very small water change and using a bit of tap water and trying to increase the pH slightly. I think because the pH is so low, it's crashed the cycle. And what I'll do moving forward is I've got a bucket with tannin water that I'm going to use to do water changes, and I'll remineralize that with salty shrimp. So KHGH. Now what I have got is I've got a 1 litre bag of soil hidden up the back of that tank, and that might be buffering out too much of the KH, and the pH is dropped so low because I've got soil in there and all the botanicals, that's obviously created me a problem. What I'm doing to combat that is I've ordered some nitrico goop, nitrico goop. That should come tomorrow or the day after. I will increase the pH, bring it closer to 6, raise the KH up, remove that bag of soil, keep dosing prime and stability until it happens, so what we've got in there is safe. And then with one of the sponge filters, I'm going to literally massage a load of nitrico goop into that and see where we go. But I'll keep you guys updated on that. Until we do that, let's flip the camera and show you what we've got for that new tank, or for that blackwater tank. One of the things I was always conscious of is that my cardinal tetra were always hidden up the back, and I made a decision to put some pygmy cories in there, with the understanding that with half a dozen pygmy cories in there that are quite active, because I knew they'd be out and about, it would encourage the cardinals to come out, and obviously that's worked. What I've also got in here, now they are very small, is some very small, they're only a couple of centimetres, checkerboard cichlid. So these aren't the filamentosa, these are Crenicara maculata, so these are the spade-tailed variant, and there are 3 of those in here. So I can only see the one, as I mentioned, they are very small, but hopefully when the lights dim a bit more, we'll get a better view in here, and I'll knock the light up a little bit so we don't get the reflection in the background. I wanted to do a little update about everything that's been going on. So I'm a little bit better in health. So back isn't as bad as it's been, but I've been suffering with it for years. So I'll go through phases where I have bad days and good days, and the last couple of days haven't been too bad. But as you guys know from the previous video, we've been doing some work on the blackwater tank. Had the fish come in. Now, I've been dosing with stability and prime for probably approximately 2 weeks, and I've had a cycle crash in there. Not sure why. I'll go into that into a little bit more detail in a second. So we added the new fish. pH was low, so as I mentioned, ammonia becomes ammonium at low pH, but I wanted to sort of raise that up a touch. My KH was very low, so my KH was 0 to 1. And what I decided to do was I needed to order some plants. So I ordered a couple of 1-2 grow pots of plants, and I ordered some nitrico goop. Used the spare sponge to the filter, soaked it in nitrico goop, added what was left to the small tank, and a tank down the bottom, which I'll show you in a second. And both of those cycled overnight, but the blackwater tank didn't cycle, and I used the lion's share of that goop on there. So I was reading through the notes, and it said if you have a cycle crash, you need to understand why your cycle crashed. Things that can cause cycle crash is low pH and low KH. I sort of disagree with that, because we cycle Caradina tanks at 5.5 pH and 0 KH, and they cycle. I have had one crash that was at 5.3, and the pH on this was low. So anyway, what I did was I've done a partial water change using some tap water. That didn't make any effect. It was about 10% water change, so I decided to do a 20% with RO, and I'd use salty shrimp to increase the GH and the KH in that. So I've got a KH of about 2 in there now, and a GH of about 5 to 6. But yesterday I tested nothing, and today I've tested, and the ammonia has lowered and the nitrite has started to form. Haven't lost a thing in there. I'm still dosing with stability and prime for the safety of the inhabitants more than anything. Just thought that makes sense to do. So that's where it's on the blackwater. I'll show you some pics of that shortly. I need to dim the lights in here because of reflections and stuff. But I'm going to flip the camera. I'm going to show you what else we've been doing and sort of what we've got up to and where we're going. So we'll start with this tank. I've been selecting some of the male endlers, and we've got sort of half a dozen of those, and I've put those in, and then you can actually see a lump of goop down that corner there. I've obviously done a couple of potted plants there, and we're just going to keep some male endlers and get rid of the females. Moving down to this tank on the bottom, you might just be able to make out a baby fish there. So I've managed to catch 3. So in there we have 3 cockatoides fry, and again I've put another potted plant in there. So this is a crypt, but they're quite difficult to catch out of the house tank, and until I probably strip it down fully I probably won't get all of them, but using that as a little grow out tank. Moving over to the rack that's still to have stuff moved over onto it, new tanks and stuff. I've got a small brine shrimp hatchery going, and at the moment this is enough to feed the fry that we're doing. I do get about 2 to 3 days out of that. This is the leaflet that come with the nitrico, and I was recommended a place called TA Aquaculture. So I bought this Artemia sieve from those, and in this blue bag we've got some Siberian brine shrimp eggs. And the reason my other eggs weren't hatching is because I bought decapsulated, so those were food, whereas these ones are actually proper eggs. So that's why I couldn't get these to hatch, that they are just a food. And then if we do move over to the blackwater tank, I've got a little bit of haziness still. It does clear and go a bit cloudier in the evening, but the rock needs to come off the wood, and I need to reposition the wood. Probably overstocked. I should have in there 3 checkerboard cichlids. I think there's 23 cardinals, so we'll separate some of those out as they get bigger. They are very small at the moment. We've got in there 7 very small pygmy cories as well, and I do plan to put some Otto cinclus in there, but I'll move some of the cardinals out before we do that. Those checkerboards are absolutely stunning. Sorry for the shaky hands. So we put a couple of clumps of Sagittaria in there, and as I says, there is a little bit of a slick on the top of here, but we also put some Amazon frog bit in there, and I'll thin that out as that grows. I do want to get some more of these King Kong Extremes, and my blues is finally sort of coming. The blues are starting to come out really nice in these deep blue bolts. I'm thinking of stripping the mixed tigers and putting them into my mixed Carradina tank. Likewise with these. And I believe we've had a bit of a disaster with the red frogs, so I took a load of plants out and I've only seen one frog since. Now, I'm sure that the frogs weren't in those plants that I pulled out, but I could be mistaken, and I haven't found any bodies of any frogs or any bad smells, so not sure what's happened there. I need to probably strip that down to investigate. As always, hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're not already a sub, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Leave your notification bells on so you don't miss out on anything. Leave us a like, drop us a comment, and we'll have a little conversation. Until next time, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.